Hello and welcome to 15 in 15, an interview show where my guest has 15 minutes to answer 15 questions. I'm your host, Sly, and we're starting off with number 1. Who are you?
I'm so glad to be here, first off. My name is Liz. I'm producer Liz on TikTok. I do a show called Stark Radio. On my TikTok feed, Stark Radio is me imagining how a radio station would sound if Tony Stark had a radio DJ at his disposal. And on YouTube and Twitch and on TikTok Live, it's a lively conversation show where we break down everything happening in Marvel, and we often go into tangents about feminism and movies and Taylor Swift and all kinds of different pop culture things.
And plumbing.
And plumbing from time to time, so it seems.
Alright, number 2. What movie has made you a better person?
I have thought about this question so hard, and I don't have an insightful answer. I wish I could give you something really profound, but I think what I'm going to say, honestly, would be Tangled. Tangled is the first movie that left such an impression on how I wanted to think about my pursuit of life. And it's not a perfect movie by any stretch, but it is the movie that when I think about a movie that's changed me, that's where my head goes every time. And I have in my bookshelf behind me, I have a little Rapunzel and Eugene on the canoe with lanterns. I look at it all the time, and it says, go chase your dream. And it's cheesy, but I look at it every day, and I'm like, you know what? That's what we're here for, right? So I'll say Tangled.
So cute. Alright, number 3. If you were to create a new story, what medium would you use to tell it?
So I love doing live shows. I love doing what we're doing today. I love doing TikTok live and all the live streaming. And I think it's a world that is still so untapped with potential, because we're going to get to a point, I think, with live streaming where there's so much more accessibility built into how we tell those live stories, and it makes people feel like they're in the middle of it and they're right in the mix with whatever they're watching. It's not me watching TV and the TV has been recorded a year ago and edited, and now I get to see it. It's happening and you're in it, and it's really exciting. So I think that's where I would tell my stories. It's where I am telling my stories. But if I was to make something new, I think that stories are only going to keep getting better the more we tap into how to make a live experience accessible and exciting and fun for people to be part of. Yeah.
What did you eat yesterday?
McDonald's. Next.
What from McDonald's?
So, French fries and a large vanilla iced coffee. That's my go-to McDonald's order. I can't eat bread, which means I can't eat 99% of the McDonald's menu. But when I do go to McDonald's, it's a French fry or a hash brown, depending on the time of day, and a coffee. I probably ate more than that. That's just what comes to mind in my memorable moment of yesterday.
All right, number 5. Why are you here?
Well, I'm here because on this show, because you are one of my favorite folks who come to the lives and one of my favorite folks on TikTok. And I'm so grateful that you asked me to be a part of this. And I'm so happy to support you. I think in a more universal sense, why am I here? And more of a questioning kind of perspective. I really like bringing people together. And that's the core of my professional life, my personal life, what I do on TikTok with content creation. I just really like bringing people together and helping people have a good time. That's why I'm here.
Okay. Number 6. If there was a comic book about your life right now, who would be the villain?
So I think it would be, there was an episode of What If a few weeks ago when there was Doctor Strange, and then the Doctor Strange that got twisted into this evil version of himself, right? And last week I went to the grocery store and I bought decaffeinated coffee, and I did not know till I was really in need of a coffee, and I only had like 2 minutes to make one for myself, and I realized it was decaffeinated. And in that moment, I literally said to myself out loud, like, this is my villain origin story. Like, this is where I become my own villain because I can't do this right now. So the villain in my life is myself a week ago that bought decaffeinated coffee.
It's amazing. So I love that.
It's very honest.
Yeah, for sure. Number 7. What inanimate object would you choose to transfigure into at will?
So if I turn into the object, that means I can't use the object, right? So I feel like there's some logic in this question of like, if I could just make any object to help me, I'd be like, oh, I probably need like a fork for what I'm eating or like a straw for my drink. And there's like some logic there. But if I could become an object, maybe like, I'd say a microphone, but people spit into microphones and I don't really want to be around that energy. Maybe like a ring light, because ring lights light people up and like make people look and feel their best. Maybe a ring light. That's what I'll say.
Hey.
Or a CD player, so people could put music on and like pop around and have fun. Yeah, a good old-fashioned CD player.
Cool. All right, number 8. What's your relationship like with religion?
So I grew up in a really small Catholic town, and I grew up in a Catholic family my whole life. And I would say that like that still forms a lot of how I think about like the world and religion and that upbringing. And I think that one of the coolest pieces of growing up in religion is becoming your own person and being able to experience more perspective and experience what you learned and what you know in the context of the greater world. So I really think that like a lot of religions, and especially like the religion I grew up in, has a lot of work to do to be more inclusive and to be more accepting. And like there's a lot of work to do in that capacity. And in the work that I do to gather people together and make sure that people are having a good time and feel accepted, like I always put inclusivity and acceptance at the front of anything I plan and everything that I do. Because that's the most important piece of the puzzle, always, in everything when it comes to community building and shows, period. Yeah, that's my current relationship with it.
All right. Number 9. If the world was like a fantasy, would you be a fighter or a mage?
I love this question because like I don't really feel like I'm either, right? Like when it comes to being like a mage, I'm a smart person, but like I don't really think I would do well in that kind of capacity personally. I think like I have friends that I would know to be like, oh yeah, they would be a fantastic mage, and like I don't consider myself to be as smart as them. Then I think about fighters. I think about people like Alexis Blake reads comics. Alexis can fight. Like Alexis is a certified helps train other people to fighter, and I also don't think I'm that person. So I'm like a word fighter. I could like really like body slam someone with some harsh language, and like that's the kind of fighter maybe I would be. That's my answer. A very specific fighter.
10. What part of a house is your favorite?
I am a sucker for a view. I love a view. And I don't care what room, I don't care what floor. If there's like a nice view, like that is where you'll find me. And I live in Canada, so we get all 4 seasons. So I love being able to see one piece of the world go through so many rapid changes. Snow and fall and beautiful blooming in spring and you know, hot, dry, rainy summer. So that's where I always find myself, is wherever there's like a view to look at and things to see. Like that's where you find me in a house for sure.
Like a sitting room.
Yeah, or like a window seat, or sometimes like a kitchen will have like a nice window looking out at something. So that's where I always gravitate towards.
Okay. Number 11. You already said what your villain origin story would be, but what would be the like story progression?
Yes, okay, this is good. So the villain origin story is me accidentally buying decaffeinated coffee, right? So there's a spiral that happens from that moment when my caffeinated meters just start ticking down and down and down and down and down until I get to like a point of no return. And then like I've never seen the point of no return because typically I can find more coffee, but I would imagine that would be the spiral of villainous Liz, decaffeinated, a little bit hangry probably, and like probably go like find a McDonald's and just like pick up the coffee machine and like run away with it and try and prevent like future decaffeination. I love McDonald's. I'm not going to do that. Let's be clear. But if I was a villain, maybe I would consider it.
Number 12. Are there any realities or truths that you're in denial about?
In denial about? That's a good question. Oh, there's one for sure. So I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. My era of choice of the Taylor Swift discography is Reputation. I love the Reputation album. Love it. And the fact that I have to go through reliving her releasing Reputation because she's going to re-record it and re-release it, I'm in complete denial that that's going to happen because I remember when she released it the first time and how excited I was and how much it meant to me, and we have to do it again. Not we get to, we have to do it again. It's going to happen whether I want it to or not, and I'm not ready. I'm not ready for it, as she would say in that album. No. Are you ready for it? No, I'm not. Please don't do it.
13. What is the strongest creature you think you could physically beat in a fight?
So I think we've established like some ground here that like I could not, right? So maybe I think about like house flies, maybe like fruit flies. Oh yeah, like we've got a fruit fly problem. Like yes, get them out of here. So probably like a harmless like house fly that couldn't actually hurt me. Yeah, I think that's probably it.
Just like small insects in general.
Yeah, exactly. Like something I could squish in a shoe. You know, I like wearing good boots. I got a good boot collection. Something I can just.
Nice.
You know? Yeah.
Number 14. Who is your biggest inspiration out of spite?
Out of spite. I try not to be a spiteful person, but like this question makes me laugh because it's so interesting. It really makes me consider like what spite do I actually have that like I don't recognize. I would say this is a very general answer, right? Like I think a lot about like male dominated industries. Myself happen to find myself working within male dominated industries, and this is not any specific person at all, but just in general, I find myself sometimes I work and I think about how to change and overcome patriarchy and that those systemic problems, and that definitely holds a lot of spite in my heart. So definitely inspired by the crusade against like male dominated workplaces.
Hey, number 15. What is on your bucket list?
I did a TikTok series. When I first started making TikToks, like way back earlier this year, I made a series about like how I would interview certain people from the Marvel franchise. And I have like these extraordinary ideas of places I would want to be and activities I would want to do to pull answers out of people that we wouldn't normally get. And I kind of scrapped that series for a little while because I was focused on other things, but like I really want to make that happen and I really want to interview those people. So like if Marvel's listening, call me. Like let's do some interviews that the fans actually want to see that are fun to watch and listen to. So interviewing Marvel celebrities and actors and producers and writers for sure.
Nice.
How'd we do?
You're doing good.
Did
You
we
have 5 more seconds.
Well, thank you